Welcome to this special episode of Afternoon Light, the podcast of the Robert Menzies Institute. In today's episode, I'm joined by Maya Khurana, who is a participant in the Menzies Early Career Network this year. This new unique network has offered Australian university students an opportunity to engage with Menzies era history while connecting with like-minded peers and respected figures in the field of Australian political history. As part of their involvement in the program, the 2024 participants contributed chapters to a very special book we will release next year, Finding Menzies, a new generation's inspiration for foreign affairs, social policy and political thought. Maya's chapter is on redefining Australian middle class identity. Maya, why did you choose this topic? It sounds great.
Yeah, I was actually personally inspired by this topic. I was actually working at the CIS. I recently have moved on from that, and it was my boss, Tom Switzer, who first told me that I am living proof of the Australian dream. I never heard that word before. Obviously, I've heard of the American dream, not the Australian dream. But my parents came here as immigrants with nothing to their name, debts back to their country. And actually reading Menzies, Forgotten People, I think that's what everyone kind of starts off with Menzies. I think he's widely known for the Forgotten People broadcast. And reading that, I actually started to see the similarities of the Forgotten People of Menzies' time to now. And I think this has been a big shift in immigration. I think a lot of the middle class now are immigrants who have come to Australia for a better life. My parents, I think, are living examples of the Forgotten People. They built up their own businesses, really invested in my brother and my education, sent me and my brother to good schools. And I think they are living examples of Forgotten People. And I think a lot of people now embody Forgotten People.
Yeah, so it's interesting, the Forgotten People as a concept. I mean, I talked to one of the other participants who was talking about sort of idea of John Citizen. It's like the everyday person. It's someone who's not represented by a particular group, like trade union or big business or farmers. That they're just the everyday Australian. Something Menzies talks about too is that he doesn't want there to be a class war. It's not about class and the working class up against the upper class and the sort of middle class sort of being smashed in the middle. How did the Forgotten People as a concept, and I guess the broadcast, try and shift the political debate away from class conflict to something different, do you think, Maya?
I think Menzies tried to bring the political discourse beyond the decisive rhetoric of class conflict by rejecting the binary frame of rich versus poor in Australian society. So highlighting the middle class as the moral and economic backbone of the Australian nation. The United Australia Party was really focused on the upper middle class and big business, where Menzies sought to highlight the ignored middle class, a group that I think many Australians could imagine themselves being a part of, even if they'd never thought of themselves being a part of that in like those terms. This construct has really remained a big part of the Liberal Party as to today. John Howard's, Butler's and Scott Morrison's Quiet Australians. We still see that rhetoric being used even till today. And I think the term Forgotten People was a term for people who were being overlooked despite their contributions to Australian stability and prosperity as a whole. However, there was tension in his approach. When you're bringing up a topic like this, you ultimately do bring class conflict to the table.
Yeah, because he really quite openly talks about the middle class, doesn't he? So he's talking about the salary earners, the shopkeepers, these are the middle class. And yet he's saying we don't want to talk about class. So it's a bit of a tension there, isn't there? Sort of inherently contradictory.
Yeah, so Menzies really tried to then reframe it as the middle class not just being in economic terms, but embodying specific moral values that the nation should reflect also, not just the middle classes themselves, that the other classes can learn from, like individual responsibility, frugality, and self-reliance. I think are really big points that Menzies was driving. And I think this redefining of class identity while simultaneously trying to challenge the class notion, um, you know, particularly with socialism and wealth distribution in the time, I think that's what Menzies was trying to overcome.
Yeah, it's interesting, this moral element of the middle class, of the forgotten people, that their values and their virtues were sort of a higher echelon than other parts of the community, and that we should sort of model them as the kind of ideal Australians. So, people who work hard for a living, educate their children, care about education, care about their neighbour, that they, aren't just focused on money, that they see the bigger picture, they see the importance of democracy. There are these sort of inherent virtues, and there's an elevation of their status through his Forgotten People broadcasts, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
And their patriotism too, a love of
Yeah.
country. Yeah, yeah. Um, why? So Menzies talks about home's material, home's spiritual, and he, he sort of encapsulated a lot of his ideas around the importance of the home. Why do you think that was important in Menzies' formulation?
Well, for Menzies, the home symbolized so much more than economic stability. It was the cornerstone for moral and civic responsibility. He described, as you said, the home, material, home, spiritual, home, human. And for him, material meant the tangible investment. For human, it was a place for nurturing a family and growing a family. And for spiritual, was a foundation of values for stability. So home ownership, in his view, cultivated independence, accountability, and pride within oneself, which aligned with the middle class uh, he was trying to push, the values that he was trying to push. And the home served as so much more than just a home. Um, it served a purpose for the nation. It reflected the values for societal cohesion that he really wanted to emphasize. Menzies tied home ownership to Australian patriotism, where he was seeing it both as a personal achievement to own a home, but also as a civic duty where you should be able to protect and own property. And it gives individuals, independence, but also national stability. So it makes it an essential part of a healthy, merit-based society. And Menzies really encapsulated that with that quote, I think, where I think a lot of people get confused by the quote, but
Yeah.
that's, I think he's trying to conceptualize how important it is for individuals themselves, but also the prosperity of Australia.
Yeah, and that Australia is, I mean, it's a country made up of people, but that kind of core element of the home is that building block that makes Australia
Yeah.
the whole that it is. And it's a way of sort of understanding how relationships interact, and how you have a healthy democracy in society. Prosperous society is sort of based on these very important, intimate relationships around your home, and its physicality, its spirituality, and its interpersonal relationships. Um, how does he conceive of progress in the Forgotten People um, broadcast? Because this is really interesting. He talks about being, social justice and being progressive, and those terms today have a very different meaning than the meaning they would have had in the 1940s, don't they, Maya?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so Menzies' vision of progress was really centered around the values of personal responsibility, meritocracy, and individual effort. He saw progress as the collective achievement of society as a whole, which were driven by the aspirations and the hard work of the middle class. Education was so pivotal to this. And I think, as we were talking about, that it's changed. I think education still is as important as it was in the 1940s, probably even more now with all the advancements that we have, but enabling individuals to upskill themselves and achieve upward mobility through education was really important for him. And when you have progress like that, it does drive national progress. And Menzies rejected that state intervention and collectivism was ultimately a bad thing for society and individuals because it, creates threats to genuine personal achievement or entrepreneurship as a society. And yeah, I think when we're talking about how it's changed a lot, I feel like maybe it's changed in the sense of how we are as a society, but these views are more true than ever today.
Yeah.
With today's progress often encompasses societal goals, equality, diversity, and environmental sustainability. But now, Menzies' time, he was talking about the progress of individual effort and merit, and we can change it so that modern views can encapsulate what Menzies was talking about while also thinking about the challenges that we face today and trying to see if there are any systemic reforms that we can try and address to challenge structural inequalities.
Yeah. What about the concept of merit in Menzies' beliefs and around the middle class identity? How do you see that sort of concept pervading even our contemporary values and ideas?
Yeah, so meritocracy was the foundation of Menzies' whole philosophy, not even just the forgotten people. I think that was something that he carried throughout his whole political career, because it appealed to universal aspiration, not just talking about Australian aspiration. It's I think a goal for many people, or the goal of many societies around the world. The idea that individuals can succeed based on their abilities and efforts rather than societal or economic backgrounds, I think is a really important thing. Menzies really positions the middle class as exemplifying the meritocracy, where the values that they had were hard work, frugality, and ambition were really important. The aspect of this pitch has proven to be really influential in the Liberal Party ideology till today, and Australian political culture more broadly. Like many policies around education, home ownership, and economic stability have always reflected Menzies, and it's not just for the Liberal Party, it's also the Labor Party who have also been influenced by these notions and these policies that Menzies championed back in the day. Political campaigns, like I said before, Howard Butler's and Abbott's Army really demonstrate how leaders have drawn upon Menzies' rhetoric, reinforcing that meritocracy and the middle class drives national progress. Even beyond the Liberal Party, Albanese, in his first press club after winning the 2019 election, said that the Liberal Party lost because they forgot about the aspirational middle class and the meritocracy that was built the Liberal Party as its own. And you can even say meritocracy now, like the referendum that we just had recently, that I think why a resounding amount of people voted no is because people believe in individual merit of people and that we should all be equal as one as a society. And Menzies was one of the first Australian politicians to champion that and really drive it home and resonates. I think it will transcend through society, Menzies' words.
It's interesting, Maya. Menzies talks about lifters and leaners in the Forgotten People broadcast. So we want a country of lifters, that hardworking people, not leaners, so people who just are lazy and rely on the state and don't want to look after themselves. When Joe Hockey was treasurer 10 years ago or so, he used that phrase and got condemned for it. Do you think some of these Menzies values don't read well today, or was it just just a bit of political hit job?
these values still resonate today, even if people don't want to take it.
Oh, sorry, Maya, I've just lost you there. Hi, Maya, are you there?
Yeah, I was
Hello.
frozen.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Okay, we're back. I think.
Oh, you're
Can you
back.
hear me?
I can hear you, but you are frozen. But that's okay. We might end it there. I might just I'll see if we can edit that bit. But oh, there you go. You're moving now. I'll just
Yeah.
say
Sorry about.
um
Okay.
thank
Oh,
that's okay. I'll just say
okay.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maya, for your chapter and participating in the Menzies Early Career Network. It's been great to have you involved.
Thank you so much for this topic, Cody and Jackie Munro, for nominating me. I really appreciate being a part of this opportunity.
It's great.